Burton had 4 steals in his second career postseason triple-double. Obi Toppin's three-pointer with 46 seconds left on the clock sealed the win. Indiana hasn't lost consecutive games since March the 10th. Jalen Brunson had 31 points for the Knicks, who will look to stay alive at home. Game 5 is Thursday night at Madison Square Garden. West Final tonight in Oklahoma City. The Thunder lead the T-Wolves 3-1. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
That's the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe? No-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m.? Big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas? The ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2025 with select plans. Straight Talk. Real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 7/20/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation of single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
If you want to be an alpha,
you've got to get the winning edge.
It's kind of a necessary ingredient if you want to lead the pack. So mark your territory
with the winning edge.
You're in the big leagues. This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
And welcome in. It is another edition of Football Full Circle, FFC, right here on Sports Grid Radio, Sports Grid TV. Scott Wetzel alongside George Kurtz, sitting in for Ben Stevens and Joe Lisi for the rest of the week, as a matter of fact, not just today, this Wednesday, May 28th. Talking a little NFL over the next 60 minutes. It's a beautiful thing, George. OTAs, the proverbial who's showing up and who's not showing up. A player saying something I never thought I'd hear say, something else that we all expected to hear every single year. We got a quarterback competition in New Orleans, and maybe, just maybe, the joke is on the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll get to it all over the next 60 minutes, throwing in a couple of team over-unders, check out some of the schedules, see how that pertains to over-under plays. So what's going on, my friend? How are you on this Wednesday afternoon?
Doing well. I believe yesterday was, 100 days till game 1 of the NFL season here. So we're 99 now. We have Terry Bradshaw coming out, as you're staying there, but yelling about Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers going on here. So listen, it's football. There's never an off day. And here we go.
Yeah, and we'll start there, George. Why not? I mean, listen, the guy doesn't have to be there. It is OTAs, and he's not under contract. But the fact that he's not under contract, is the bigger story. Terry Bradshaw, former Steeler, great quarterback, Hall of Famer, right? When asked about, the Steelers' fascination with Aaron Rodgers, I'll read you his quote. A little long, but I want to get it the exact. That's a joke, he says. To me, it's just a joke. What are you going to do? Bring him in for a year? Are you kidding me? The guy needs to stay in California, go somewhere, chew on bark, and whisper to the gods out there. Then he further adds, I like Kenny Pickett. I liked him at Pitt. I know him. I know what he's like. When he got him to Pittsburgh, they didn't protect him. They didn't have an offensive line. They wanted to run the football, but they didn't have an offensive line that could protect, and they didn't have any weapons. They had no wide receivers to speak of. He wasn't a failure. He adds later on, the Steelers were a failure. And this is a Pittsburgh Steeler, all-time great. Your thoughts about Terry Bradshaw yesterday?
He's not all wrong. All right. He's right. I don't think he's all right either. I mean, listen, it doesn't matter. You bring in Rodgers, you don't bring him in, you're still the third best team in the division at best, right? You're not better than Baltimore. You're probably not better than Cincinnati, although they have no defense. So I guess theoretically you could compete there. But if your goal is to win, the Lombardi Trophy, Rodgers ain't doing it. Bradshaw's right. Was he going to be there a year, maybe 2 at most? He's still probably the best quarterback you have if you put him on the roster right now. Mason Rudolph, who cares, right. And all that. Will Howard, Skylar Thompson, but he's not going to lead you to a championship. So why are you doing this? Where you're giving him? It's May 28th. I mean, what are you going to wait till September 1st? Aaron, you're going to come by? What do you think, Marin? Sign a contract, come play for us? I mean, It seems for an organization like Pittsburgh to do this, to capitulate to him, is surprising to me, Scott. That they would just keep waiting and waiting and waiting here. And by the way, a sort of subplot to this is Kirk Cousins didn't show up to voluntary OTAs yesterday for Atlanta. And Pittsburgh has to know soon. If Rodgers ain't coming and they feel they need an upgrade. I mean, listen, I know we all don't love Kirk Cousins. He can only get you a certain amount of games as well. Not going to lead to a championship either. But if you believe he's an upgrade, you want to go get him, then you need to know sooner rather than later. It is, with three plus months here until week one here. You got to learn the system, get with the players here. It's a mess, and Pittsburgh hasn't helped anybody letting it drag on for this long.
Yeah. I tell you, the thing that's most surprising about this is it's Pittsburgh, right? If this is the New York Jets, and obviously they had their issues with Aaron Rodgers, but, if it's a franchise that's been a perennial loser, it's just like, all right, Cleveland Browns, we expect that. Well, you're talking about one of the most respected head coaches in Mike Tomlin, one of the most respected organizations in the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're bending over backwards for a guy that has seemingly no ties that I know of outside of him wanting to maybe sign there this year. You're going out of your way. That they could have had Shedeur Sanders. I get that. All right, maybe you don't want to draft him in the first round. Maybe you don't want to draft him even in the second round. But come third or fourth round. I mean, was he that bad for Pittsburgh to say, nope, we don't want him in the first, second, third, or fourth? I don't care. Let him drop into the fifth. It's just. What? Because they thought even if they knew Aaron Rodgers was going to sign with them, you still wouldn't have taken a crack on Shedeur Sanders? I mean, obviously we've all debated the Sanders situation, George, but it is still amazing that this supposed first-round talent passed through so many teams to get to the fifth round. I mean, you really, really, in the case of Pittsburgh, that does not have a quarterback on their roster, right? That you hated him that much that you weren't going to draft him even in the fourth round, let alone the first round. That's amazing. Amazing to me.
It's a valid point. Listen, if you didn't like him, his interview was terrible, you believed him, whatever, fine. Then don't draft him in the first couple of rounds here. But, a third-day pick, he's worth a third-day pick. Anybody's worth it. Man, let's face it. We all know this. Third day, you're all gambling anyway. Everyone's just throwing darts on the board, hoping to hit. No one really knows for sure if he's going to go. So, yeah, he was certainly worth that here. I mean, you can't tell me you believe in Will Howard. You drafted him in the sixth round. If you believe that, you'd have taken him before that, right? And we know Mason Rudolph was a failure, all right? Nothing but a backup. Skylar Thompson, are you kidding me?
Stinks.
I mean, this doesn't make any sense to me. These are all pushing it to say they're backups, right? You can make it out these guys are third stringers more than anything else. So it's, like I said, if this is a nowhere franchise that has done this year, all right, fine, who cares? But it's Pittsburgh. We don't expect this from them, and for Aaron Rodgers to be able to hold them hostage is a surprise here. And I love Mike Tomlin. Listen, I'm not saying this is on Mike Tomlin, by the way. This is probably more above him, GM and ownership more than anything else. But I'm just surprised if I'm the Rooneys, no, I'm done. He doesn't want to play a letter. Go play someplace else. He has no other place to play. There's no other place for Aaron Rodgers to play unless or until somebody gets hurt. Then he'll have some leverage. But for now, it's either Pittsburgh or bust.
Yes, it's amazing. They're going to put up with this attitude, right? Because I don't think there's any doubt that if he came knocking on the Pittsburgh Steelers' front door today, the Steelers would say, all right, here's your contract, right? So they're going to put up with this nonsense, but they wouldn't put up with Shedeur Sanders. I don't, listen, if you don't want a problem child in your organization, okay, we may disagree on that, but I get it. But you're putting up with Rodgers BS, but you wouldn't take a fourth-round flyer on Shedeur Sanders? There was nobody in that organization, whether it's Mike Tomlin, Colbert, the GM, and nobody said, listen, bring the kid in. I know he's a pompous SOB. I get that. But you know what? Let me have him for a year or two. Let me show him the ropes. I'll handle him. I'll take care of the ego. We'll deal with the ego. We'll work with him. I mean, I don't know. Sanders is either going to be a complete bust because people just don't like him, or he's going to make a lot of people look foolish. But I just figured there would be someone in that organization that desperately needs a quarterback that would have said, don't worry about it. Like I said, I know he's a pompous ass. I get that. He's a cocky SOB. I get that. His father's is Deion Sanders. It's not like the guy's being a cocky SOB because he's out of the blue. I mean, he grew up with the silver spoon in his hand, right? I mean, his father's Deion Sanders. So that's almost to be expected. It's kind of weird that they wouldn't put up with that, but they're going to put up with Aaron Rodgers holding them hostage. Seems to me if you don't want to deal with that stuff, you don't.
I 100% agree with you. Other than the fact that Rodgers has proven himself in the NFL that he can be a good quarterback where Sanders had. That's the only thing that's the difference there. I mean, looking at Aaron Rodgers, remember, he's the guy last year who told the Jets, I want no distractions here. And then he decides not to show up to mandatory minicamp because he had a vacation planned. What? Yeah. Never heard that before. I never heard that. Like you didn't know there was going to be OTAs at some point. That's weird. So, no, I wouldn't want this if I'm Pittsburgh here. Like I said, it's not like they're an excellent team where they're a quarterback away. And then, all right, I understand. All right, you're waiting for Rodgers to see what happens because you know you get him, you go into the Super Bowl, you have a damn good chance here. You're not better than Baltimore. You're not better than Buffalo. You're not better than several other teams in the AFC. You're not going to the Super Bowl with or without Rodgers. You're just not. And by the way, as far as Sanders, it's still my belief, by the way, that he'll start the most games for Cleveland this season. Deshaun Watson, Pickett, Flacco, Dylan Gabriel. I think Sanders ends up starting the most games. Not week one, but starts the most games this season.
I think so as well. So it's amazing that Terry Bradshaw is now getting involved. I mean, the frustration in that organization is what really wow. All right, we'll take a peek at some more stories, some headlines before we get to some team over-unders. Football full circle here on the grid.
4 out of 5 scientists agree it's smarter to be on Sports Grid. And we're pretty sure that one scientist is still a virgin.
He just gives that vibe.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
With the Sports Grid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Wendy's. Southwest Airlines is going to start charging for checked bags beginning today. The airline has offered travelers 2 free checked bags for 30 years. Southwest said Tuesday that it will be charging $35 for a first checked bag and $45 for a second checked bag. Weight and size limits will apply for bags. If you join Southwest's loyalty program or pay a business fare, you won't have to pay. Republican U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville, who entered politics after a successful career as a head football coach at Auburn and 3 other major college programs, announced Tuesday that he is running for governor of Alabama next year. Tuberville is expected to be a formidable entry into the race to succeed Republican Governor Kay Ivey, who cannot run again because of term limits. Tuberville made the announcement Tuesday in front of his family and friends at an Auburn barbecue restaurant. I'm Trey Westerberg with the Sports Grid News Flash.
Something amazing is happening here. Scientists are using AI to study how whales talk to each other. CDW experts can give researchers the power to process complex data with HP workstations, advanced by AMD Ryzen Threadripper Pro processors. With easier handling of AI workloads, your organization can bring powerful insights to the surface. Make amazing happen. HP, AMD, and CDW. Learn more at cdw.com/HPAMD.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
There's something you should know and always remember.
Sports Grid does not increase luck.
We're your unfair advantage for the latest sports gaming information. If you're looking for luck,
go find a horseshoe.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle on this Wednesday afternoon. Scott and George, hour number 1 of our 1-hour extravaganza. So we go from one quarterback issue to another, and maybe they are tied in. Kirk Cousins not showing up yesterday for OTAs. Now, again, it is OTAs, but the majority of the players do show up, which is good to see. He did not. Had a sit down with Arthur Blank, owner of the Falcons, not that long ago. He wants out. He still thinks he's a starter in the NFL. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. Obviously, Atlanta at this point is going in another direction. But with Michael Penix Jr., at least going to give him a crack at it. I don't think the Falcons are too sold on Michael Penix Jr., where they're kind of saying to themselves, let's get another year out of this, maybe. They paid him, a $10 million signing bonus or roster bonus, whatever you want to call it, about a month or so ago. Otherwise, they would have gotten rid of him before then. I don't know if they do. I think Kirk Cousins is going to sit back and make his $45 million doing nothing, just holding a clipboard. Get used to life in the NFL. I mean, he makes a lot of money. Someone would have to trade for him. I think teams actually, Georgia, are holding out that they release him, and then they could sign him to a much lesser contract. Because don't forget, if you trade for him, kind of the Dolphins issue with Jalen Ramsey, you're assuming that contract, and no one wants to assume all that guaranteed money. I think teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers might be hoping that eventually the Falcons get rid of him and cut bait, and in this way get him on the cheap. But I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. I think we lost him. Yeah.
My bad. I was on mute. That's my bad. I think it's everything you were saying, Scott. I think in a perfect world, the Falcons would like to keep him because I sort of agree. I think they're 85% sure on Penix, but not completely, and they want to compete this year. So if Penix bombs, you still got Cousins, right? So you'll be okay. You might say you won't be great, but you'll be okay here. I think secondary, they would like to trade him, but they do want someone to take on that contract and give them something in return that they like, whether it be a draft pick, a player, combination, whatever. And they're not going to get both. I think they can get somebody to take on the contract, maybe a little late in the offseason for that too. I don't know how the team's going to have salary cap room, but then you'll get, a swap in the 7th round or a 6th round, whatever it might be. One of those stupid deals. You can't get both. You can't get, if you want to eat the contract yourself, maybe you can get a 5th, that sort of thing. Or, bonuses to get to a 4th, I can see incentives to get to a 4th round pick. I can see that here. So they sort of have to weigh that. What do you want here? I also think Cousins is going to make it harder for him, though. This is voluntary OTA, so he doesn't have to go. What's he going to do when it's mandatory? Is he going to? What about training camp?
Right.
Is he willing to play that game as well and be a distraction? I don't know if he is. I don't know if he's willing to pay that price. Was it $50,000 a day or whatever it is if you don't show up to camp? I don't know if he wants to pay that here. So it'll be interesting. Listen, they're playing poker. Who's going to call who's bluff? Is a team going to come for him? Like I said, Atlanta can sort of wait. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, all right, Pittsburgh, we want a good pick, and you can have him. I think that's what they're waiting for. Everything's sort of waiting on Aaron Rodgers to decide what he's going to do. And Rodgers, I think, he doesn't want to play for Pittsburgh. That's fairly obvious. He wants someone to go down, have an injury somewhere. Right. Okay, now I go to a better team here. If Brock Purdy were to go down or JJ McCarthy, go to a good team here, and I can take over that and have a better chance to go deeper into the playoffs.
Yeah. It is interesting you bring up San Fran. I know they gave Brock Purdy a ton of money, just an exorbitant amount of money. I don't think he's that good. I really don't. They could have really cut bait with him and said, all right, Aaron, you want to come back to San Fran? Come back to California? We'll give you our team, for a year. We'll see how things go. You got a championship caliber team. I think he'd be in camp right now if that was the case. And then they don't have to pay, a quarterback that I think is, above average. Yeah, I won't, minimize him that much. But is he worth the highest paid of $55 million a year for Brock Purdy? No, I wouldn't have done that. So I wonder how much debate there was with San Francisco with stuff like that. But
it's the same conversation the Cowboys had to have it with Dak Prescott.
Yeah,
he's
right.
Good, not great. Purdy's won more than Dak in the playoffs, right? So that's important too. But I didn't want Dak Cowboys to sign Dak, but I was also the first person to admit if they don't, you're starting from scratch. You're probably going to eat it for a couple of years. Aaron Rodgers going to San Fran. Yeah, he would play in San Fran, no doubt. He's from there. I have no doubt he'd play there. I don't know how much better it's going to make the team. That offensive line's not great anymore. They're going to have issues there, and he's got to run for his life here. But it's just that thing. Okay, you get Rodgers for a year, maybe 2. What are you doing then? He's not going to want to mentor a young quarterback. He's already proven that he doesn't want to do it. So even if you draft, you wouldn't be drafting all that low anyway. So what are you going to do a quarterback in 2 years? You're going to completely start from scratch? Listen, I don't like the economics of the NFL, but either you pay the quarterback you have, Purdy, Prescott, several others, or you start from scratch. It comes down to what's more important to you. This is probably more for the Cowboys than the 49ers, but winning a regular season, because we know Purdy, we know Dak can win the regular season, or winning a Super Bowl. If winning the Super Bowl is your ultimate goal, if that's truly the ultimate goal, then you should have walked away from Dak. Purdy, I'm sort of 50-50 because I think he's done better in the playoffs than Dak. So I can see that not being the same argument here. But I think that's the case here. If you're going to the Super Bowl is your goal and you don't think Purdy can get you there, then you have to move on, because that's your ultimate goal. But if you're just like these owners who wants to win in the regular season, make the playoffs, we'll see what happens, make all that money because you're going to have a winning season, well, you know what? Then he's the quarterback for you and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. That's why, I've always said, if the Tennessee Titans were willing to play ball with Cam Ward, and I think Cam Ward's going to be terrific, Name your price. You want 5 first-round picks? Go ahead. Here's 5 first-rounders. I'm good enough as a GM. I'm going to go get other players. First of all, free agency now is so much easier to go get other players to start with. But if I'm a GM, I have confidence in my ability to go get good players in the second, third, and fourth round. If I'm a boob as a GM and I have no confidence, well, then I'm going to savor those first-round picks like they're just absolute gold. When in reality, you don't get the Cam Wards. You don't get I was going to say Shorter Sanders. You don't never know. But you don't get the C.J. Strouds and the Jan Daniels of the world in the third, fourth, and fifth round. You just don't. You need those guys. You need the top guys. If they would have said yes to 5, I would have done it. The RG3 trade, go ahead. The Mike Ditka trade, take my entire draft. Go ahead. Let me get the proven quarterback. So I don't feel that way about this round. Question is, can Kirk Cousins bring a team to the Super Bowl? Never could in his prime. Could he get a team to the playoffs? That's the question. Perhaps. Can the New Orleans Saints quarterbacks get their team to the playoffs? We'll talk about that next. Football Full Circle. Scott and George in for Ben and Joe Lisi right here on The Grid.
There's smart.
And there's not smart.
Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Keep it here.
And win. This is the Sports Grid Radio Network. The Sports Grid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1951, after going 0 for 12, Willie Mays connects for his first Major League home run. In 1968, the American League announces it's splitting into 2 divisions. The Yankees, Orioles, Tigers, Indians, and Washington Senators will be in the East, while the West consisted of the Twins, A's, Angels, Royals, White Sox, and Seattle Pilots. For Sports Grid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
Scientists at the American Institute of Physics have built a sophisticated computer model using half a dozen differential equations derived from Euler's mathematical simulation of a rotating rigid body on a waxed surface covered with a thin layer of oil to understand, for the first time, the science of bowling. Until now, there's been no unified model to predict the best conditions for a strike, or how to best prepare tournament lanes for fair competition. However, no simulation of bowling ball shot dynamics, trajectory, friction, wood grain, accessories, or oil patterns can solve this. Better ball. Follow me at Gigabelbo on X and stay tuned to the Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Money line.
Would you take the Braves to win the NL East? They were 5.5 games back, and I said no. Now they're 8.5 games back with Strider back and also with Ronald Acuna. Things certainly haven't turned the direction, but they can only dig themselves out by winning series and just sort of slow playing it. Hey, you're back 8.5 games. Why not by the time mid-June you're back 6.5 games? By the time you hit the All-Star break, it's 4.5 games. That's what you have to do.
Catch Money Line with Donnie Rightside and Kevin Walsh. Weekdays, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on the Sports Grid Radio Network. There comes a point when the chips are down.
To coin a phrase.
When the only thing you can do is stop and wait. Do you want to face that moment prepared?
Or rely on luck?
Get the winning edge. This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on The Grid. Scott and George talking a little NFL for the next 35 minutes or so. A little quarterback situation, last one to delve into. Got some team over-under plays and a couple of little tidbits that we're going to discuss. New Orleans Saints actually have a real quarterback competition. I mean, the quality might not be great, but the competition, though, is legitimately there. Spencer Rattler playing some last year, not exactly great for New Orleans. And then they bring in the rookie Tyler Shuck, the kid out of Louisville, who's about 55 years old, ready for retirement already. Not joking, like 25, but still. So you got the same. Their over-under is 5.5, which I'll get to in a second. But first, the quarterback competition, you know, the announcement. I don't think it was really a surprise with Derek Carr. You got Jake Haener there as well, but you know, what's worse than 2 bad quarterbacks, and that's 3, really, for the New Orleans Saints. I don't know if any of these 3, Rattler didn't look exactly great, and I liked him at South Carolina, bounced around college a little bit. but didn't really prove to be an NFL caliber quarterback. So Saints, they don't know if they're coming or going at the QB position.
Listen, the competition for the Saints is, are you going to have the number 1 pick next year? All right, it's a bad team.
Yeah.
All right, their schedule isn't brutal. You play in the NFC South, so
it's easy.
Yeah, I mean, they play Arizona as well here. Seattle's not great. Giants are in New England. Looking at these, I mean, the schedule's not terrible as far as you want to go the over/under here. I still don't think they're going to get 6 wins. I don't see it, but they could certainly come close. Jets are here, Tennessee, so they could certainly could come close here. But I think the season for them, once again, new coach Kellen Moore here, is all about, is Tyler, the 80-year-old man, is he your quarterback of the future? Is he or is he not? Because even if you know the number 1 pick next year, you're going to have top 5. Right, so do you need to take quarterback? That's where I'm going. Do you need to take quarterback next year? Listen, Hayner's not the answer. Rattler's not the answer. Derek Carr wasn't the answer. All right, so they need to make that. They need to figure that out. That's all that's more important this season. You're not making the playoffs. You're not winning a division. You're not going to be a 500 team or above 500 team in today's NFL. So is Chuck the answer there, or do you need a quarterback next year? That's all this season matters for the Saints. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I think he could be, but Scott, I think their problem is going to be this. They're a bad team, so it's going to be hard to judge him. And then even if he's playing well, I don't think he's a dynamic guy. I don't ever see that where oh my God, he's the franchise quarterback. I think his ceiling would be, he's a quarterback. He can be a quarterback 1, but not someone who can win games by himself. I think that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah. It's so hard. You put him in there, you win 3, 4, 5 games. What's the level of, okay, he showed us a little something that we're going to give him the team next year versus drafting a quarterback with our top 10 pick. You got to find that line in the sand. Did he show enough? Obviously, Rattler didn't show enough. Otherwise, they wouldn't have drafted Chuck. So what does Tyler have to do to show the Saints front office, okay, I am your guy? Is it throw for 3,500 yards? Is it throw for 25 touchdowns? Is it wins? Like I said, their schedule really isn't that difficult. Now, listen, if you're bad, no matter who you're playing, right? But if you look at it, you mentioned some of the teams. I mean, they got New England, they got the Giants, they got the Jets on there, they got Tennessee on there. Those are bad football teams that they should be able to at least compete with to get, 5 or 6, who knows, maybe even 7 wins. But does that mean your quarterback is any good? So that'll be interesting. That'll be one of the few teams, and no doubt they will be a hot play come preseason football. People will be betting on them because we all love to bet on teams that have quarterback competitions because then the starters generally play a little bit longer from all the other positions. So how about this out of Cincinnati? You talk about weird. Not that I disagree, but Jamar Chase telling the reporters yesterday he thinks the starters, speaking of preseason games, should be playing more in the preseason. Someone pointed out, and I didn't realize it was this bad. You know what the Cincinnati Bengals record is, George, under Zach Taylor, their head coach, in 6 seasons, the first 2 weeks of the regular season? I don't know if you saw the story or not. Good. Yeah. 1-11. I'm like, what? I knew it wasn't good. I didn't know it was 1-11. So in 6 seasons, the first 2 games of the season, they've only got 1 win. So even Jamar Chase was saying, well, you know what? Sounds like we need to play, his words, sounds like we need to play in the preseason, huh? Meaning the starters. Because he's reasoning that they don't play in the preseason, and that's why they're getting up slow starts. I don't know if I buy that.
Schedule. They play Cleveland and Jacksonville to start the season this year. All right, that's Minnesota, Denver is the next 2 games after that. You better get up to a better start. Listen, something's broken. You should fix it. Try something different. Maybe start playing it more in the preseason will help.
Yeah. We'll take a look at some of the teams' over-unders and their schedules when we come back. Football Full Circle here on The Grid.
The winning edge.
You've got it.
But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us.
But we're working on that.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Baseball on Tuesday, Shohei Ohtani homered in his third straight game for his 20th of the year, leading the Dodgers past the Guardians 9-5. Christian Yelich hit a walk-off grand slam at the bottom of the 10th as the Brewers beat the Red Sox 5-1. The Reds beat the Royals 7-2. Former Royal Brady Singer got the win. He allowed 2 runs on 7 hits over 7 innings. Ellie De La Cruz hit a pair of solo homers for Cincinnati. The Cardinals handed the Orioles a 7-4 loss. Nolan Arenado hit a tie-breaking homer in the 8th, snapping Baltimore's season-high 3-game winning streak. The Rangers shut out the Blue Jays 2-0. A big 11-1 win for the Astros at home over the A's. Hunter Brown struck out 8 for Houston. Jose Altuve had 4 hits, including 2 homers. The A's have lost 12 of 13. In 11 innings, the Cubs got by the Rockies 4-3. Michael Busch and Matt Shaw hit run-scoring singles in the 11th. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
That's the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MOVE to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MOVE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MOVE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
You're listening to Sports Grid.
Spreading the winning edge far and wide.
Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and don't forget our mobile app.
Face it.
The winning edge is everywhere.
Somewhere there's a squirrel frustrated he can't get a phone.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the Grid. Scott and George in for Ben and Joe all week long, as a matter of fact, not just today, but tomorrow and Friday as well. So took a peek, George. I love doing this. You know, you wait so long to get the schedules, the actual schedules. I mean, we know who they were playing, but, you know, you see it in print and everything kind of jumps off the page a little bit more. And then you kind of look at the over-unders and see if that changes your mind a little bit. So we'll take the AFC East and we'll run down some of these teams in the AFC. We'll start with the Buffalo Bills. First up, Joey Bosa is hurt. I mean, this guy is the most overrated player in maybe the history of sports. I mean, he is always, we haven't even had a practice, let alone a game, and the dude is already pulling up lame. Pull the calf muscle. More than likely, Bill saying yesterday won't participate again this spring, but they're saying he should, keyword should, be ready for training camp. I mean, he's just never, ever on the field. It really is amazing with this dude. And people think he's the greatest thing in the world. I just don't.
He was at one point a really good player. He's not that anymore. Or if he was, he'd still be with San Fran. Chargers. I'm sorry, Chargers. So it is what it is there. Listen, Buffalo, they're the only team in the NFL that's favored in every game right now, which is weird. You know, I look at the schedule, you know, you look at it, okay, the tough teams they play here, Baltimore, home, Kansas City, home. So that's why they're favored. Cincinnati, home, Philadelphia, home. That's why. That's why they're favored in every game here. All their tough games are at home. Here's a little break with the schedule there. I think they win the AFC East. No, I'm not breaking news there. The question is going to be, do they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs? You start off with Baltimore right away. It should be looking forward to the game. That's the Sunday night game in week 1, right? If Mark Andrews doesn't drop that pass, we might still be playing that game.
Yeah. They, I did my notes, and they got an easy start. 4-1. They're looking at 4-1 at worst, I would think. Baltimore at home to start the season, as you mentioned. Then at the Jets, Miami at home, Saints at home, New England at home. I mean, realistically, you could, outside of maybe Tennessee, right? I mean, you couldn't have asked for an easier schedule. If they lose the Baltimore game, which is possible, albeit at home, I mean, again, 4-1, and they're off and running around. And then even after that, it's at Atlanta, at Carolina. for a first place schedule, they had it pretty easy. Their over-under is 11.5, little juice to the over on FanDuel, depending on what site. I'm sure you could shop and maybe get a little bit better number as far as some of the odds you have to lay. But it's 11.5, minus 145. They were 13-4 last year. In order for you to lose, if you bet the over, they would have to go 11-6. It does get tougher. I'll grant you that, after that first little month and a half, 2 months of the season. But I don't think this team is losing 6 times. You said it. They're the perfect situation. If you're a really good team like Buffalo, you want those really tough games at home. If you're a mediocre to bad team, you want those really tough teams on the road because you're not going to win anyway. You could play on the moon, and you're not going to beat Kansas City and Baltimore and San Francisco if you're a mediocre or bad team, right? But again, if you're a good team, you can beat those teams, so you want them at home. So it plays out, all the, maybe would be tougher games. The Atlanta, Carolina, Pittsburgh, those are all on the road where you could beat those teams, no matter where you play. And Cleveland as well on the road. So I think they hit their number. I think they get. I'm surprised it's that low. I'm surprised it's not 12.5. I don't see them going 11-6. I just don't.
I'm with you. I think they hit their over as well here. I think this is a 13-win team game, 13-win team again. And it wouldn't shock you, by the way, if they do better than that. You mentioned those 4 games. You just split them, and I think they'll do better than split. Baltimore is tough, but Kansas City, they've got some issues here. Cincinnati, we know they have no defense. All right, Philadelphia's a rough game. Just split. You go 2-2 here, you're probably fine. You'll probably lose to either New England or Miami. New England always plays them tough. So I can see that. Maybe lose one other game somewhere along the line here. But I think this is a really good team here, and I'm not all that worried about it. There is a reason they're favored in every game. That's why you're 11.5 surprised me as well. You're favoring them in every game, but yet you expect them to lose 6. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Who's let me just go to Detroit's schedule, because I saw that same notation from the 4-letter network saying that they were favored in every game. What
Detroit
game would be
game week 1? At Green Bay.
They play week 1.
At Green Bay.
Yeah.
They're at Baltimore.
At Green Bay.
At Cincinnati. At Kansas City. That schedule's a little rough.
Yeah.
At Philadelphia.
They got a brutal schedule. Who would the Eagles not be favored over? Look at their schedule real quickly.
Obviously, they play Detroit, but it's at home.
Kansas City? At Kansas City, probably week number 2.
They just slaughtered them. I mean, it's week 2. But I would have them favored. But you're right. That must be
that
it.
Would be the only
at
one.
Green Bay,
That's got to
week
be
10.
Right.
Detroit's at home. At Buffalo, week 17. There it is. We know they're not favored in that game.
There you go, because Buffalo. Yep. I tell you, that's not a bad schedule for world champs. You got some games on there, but overall, that's actually not that bad. But yeah, probably at Buffalo. There you go. What a buying into the Buffalo Bills Kool-Aid. Amazing.
NFC East plays the NFC North and AFC West this year. The NFC East is going to have a tough time. That's why the Giants are going to get slaughtered. They're not. They're an under, by the way.
I want to go over on them, but yeah, we'll do those tomorrow. The NFC, AFC. How about Miami? They start with my beloved Dolphins. First up, their over number is 8.5 plus 135 if you want to go over. They were 8-9 last year. They start with at Colts, winnable. Patriots at home, winnable. At Buffalo, be a loss. Jets at home, winnable. At Carolina. Their furthest West Coast trip is Indianapolis. None of these East Coast AFC East teams travel further than the Midwest. None of them. So that works out well. They do have a little gauntlet of Baltimore, Buffalo, Washington, but they're all at home, and they only have 7 games against playoff teams from last year. I don't want to be a homer, but I don't know if they're going to go. They were 8-9 last year. I would think they would be able to go 9-8 this season with the extra home game.
Got to get off to a good start, which you should be able to, right? Indy, New England. Okay, Buffalo's a loss. Jets, Carolina. I mean, you could do no worse than 3-2 there, right? You can make it argument 4-1 is certainly in play. All right, you lose to Buffalo, maybe you lose to New England with Jets. I don't think you lose to. I guess Indianapolis week 1 can be rough. Chargers, all right, that's rough. Cleveland's good. That stretch. Atlanta, Baltimore, Buffalo, Washington. That's your stretch there. You go, you spit the bit there and you go 0-4, which I don't think they will, mind you. But Baltimore, Buffalo's a loss. you're probably going 1-3. So now you got 5 losses, but you get New Orleans, Jets, Pittsburgh, all winnable games there. You finish with Cincinnati. They're going to be right around it. I would not bet this, by the way. This number in my mind is right on. They're going to be an 8 or 9 win team here. A couple of breaks, they could get to 10. Things go the other way, they could be a 6 or 7 here. So I wouldn't bet this, but I think they're going to be right around the number 8 or 9 wins.
Yeah, I think they get it. And I want to be a pessimistic Dolphin fan, but that's not a bad schedule. I mean, you got to play some bad team.
I want to be a pessimistic Dolphin fan.
Yeah, I do. Just because I want to see Tua get the hell out of there. I want to see Mike McDaniel get fired. I want to see Greer, the GM, get whacked. Yeah, they're all fired. They all stink. So I want to be the guy that says go to 5 and 13, and just fire or whatever it would be, and fire them all. I do, but that's a pretty easy schedule. When you throw on the Jets twice, Carolina, you play the NFC South. If they don't get 8 wins or 9 wins with that schedule, then something's obviously really wrong. Jets are 5.5, -140 to the over. They were 5-12 last year. They start with, get a load of this schedule. Well, it's not that bad, but they start with Pittsburgh, Buffalo, at Tampa Bay, at Miami, Dallas. Furthest West Coast trip is Cincinnati. We'll talk more about it when we come back. Football Full Circle here on The Grid.
We're not saying every Sports Grid listener is a legend, but you might start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie.
Just saying.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
With the Sports Grid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Wendy's. Southwest Airlines is going to start charging for checked bags beginning today. The airline has offered travelers 2 free checked bags for 30 years. Southwest said Tuesday that it will be charging $35 for a first checked bag and $45 for a second checked bag. Weight and size limits will apply for bags. If you join Southwest's loyalty program or pay a business fare, you won't have to pay. Republican U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville, who entered politics after a successful career as a head football coach at Auburn and 3 other major college programs, announced Tuesday that he is running for governor of Alabama next year. Tuberville is expected to be a formidable entry into the race to succeed Republican Governor Kay Ivey, who cannot run again because of term limits. Tuberville made the announcement Tuesday in front of his family and friends at an Auburn barbecue restaurant. I'm Trey Westerberg with the Sports Grid News Flash.
Huge news. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a Son of Baconator for just $3. I don't think you understand this situation. The Son of Baconator is only $3 for a limited time. Smoked bacon, rich melted cheese. That Son of Baconator is only $3. Thank you to whoever wished upon that star. For bacon that just won't quit, gotta be Wendy's.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii, not valid on a combo or on third-party delivery platforms.
Something amazing is happening here. Scientists are using AI to study how whales talk to each other. CDW experts can give researchers the power to process complex data with HP workstations, advanced by AMD Ryzen Threadripper Pro processors. With easier handling of AI workloads, your organization can bring powerful insights to the surface. Make amazing happen. HP, AMD, and CDW. Learn more at cdw.com/HPAMD.
Remember when you were thankful you could just get AM and FM?
Things have progressed.
Now even an app on your phone can give you a 21st century thrill with that little drop of heaven called
the deposit notification.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the Grid on this Wednesday, May 28th. Scott and George taking another 20 minutes or so. Just going over some of these team over-unders now that we have the schedules. A little late to the party on this, but George and I haven't worked that much together, so a chance to kind of go over, get to it in July or August. They do definitely change. So last left you with the Jets. Not high on the Jets. I don't like their quarterback situation. I despise Justin Fields. I think he stinks, but the number's only 5.5. Little juice -140. The furthest West Coast trip is Cincinnati, so they're not traveling far. only 6 games against playoff teams from last year, which at this point that I've been doing this is the lowest that I've seen so far. Gave you that schedule, to start. It's not a gauntlet, but Buffalo, Pittsburgh, at Tampa, at Miami, and then Dallas. I mean, you're looking at maybe 2 and 3 if you're lucky, probably out of that. But then it eases up after that. So I like the Jets over, even though I don't like their team. 6 wins is not a lot. It's still a lot of losses. 6-11. They're more than capable of losing double digits, but still get over their win total.
I kind of agree with you. All right. And I'm probably a little higher on Fields than you. I mean, I don't know. I want to see the guy get a chance, really. And I want to see an offense developed around him. All right. Listen, you got to move the pocket. You can't have him take 3, 5, 7-step drops and expect him to complete, 72% of his passes. It's not going to happen. Got to move the pocket here. Let him use his legs there. So if the Jets can do that, maybe they have something. And by the way, they have to do because the offensive line is still broken. All right. They got to fix that there. But the Jets have talent. They have talent. You said you play Pittsburgh week 1. Okay, I don't know who Pittsburgh's gonna have. Mason Rudolph. That could be a win. Buffalo's a loss. Tampa. I mean, you could start 1 and 3. I mean, 2. Boy, I look at it now, and there's a lot of games they could win, Scott, but they're not going to be favored in them. I mean, Pittsburgh, okay. Buffalo's a loss. At Tampa's probably a loss. At Miami, I don't think you're going to win that on a Monday night, and it's going to be 9 million degrees. I don't see that. Dallas, I don't think you're going to win that. Denver's going to be a problem. That's a neutral site game. Well, I think this is dirt on my screen here. No, it's a neutral site game. Carolina, okay. Cincinnati. I mean, the schedule's not easy. It's just not difficult. But there's going to be a lot of games where they're going to be like, 45% to win here. And can they win their share here? That being said, I think they'll squeak it out because I have some faith in Fields.
Yeah. I mean, they got the NFC South. So you got New Orleans, you got the AFC South with Jacksonville, you have Atlanta, you have Cleveland on there, you have Carolina.
They're better than New Orleans.
No. I tell you, it sounds weird to say, but the whole key may reside in the first game. If you could beat Pittsburgh, right, big rivalry game, whether it's Aaron Rodgers versus the Jets or it's Justin Fields versus Pittsburgh, it's in New Jersey, it's a home game. If you're going to get your win total over, then you got to win a game like that. You just have to. They beat Buffalo, before, but I don't think they're going to be 2-0.
They play them tough.
If you can get out of
Buffalo tough.
Yeah, they have. So it's not an automatic gimme when they for whatever reason they do play the Bills tough. If you could get out of that first 4 at 2-2, and then you got Dallas, Denver, Carolina. Even if you went 1-2 out of those 3, now you're 3 wins. Then you're halfway home, and you still got Cleveland. You got New England. You got Atlanta at home. You got Jacksonville. You got the Saints. You got New England again. It really is an easy schedule. Well, so if they can't get the 6 wins, with that,
I'm not betting it. I'm not so sure they can. Bottom line is this: we'll talk about the Giants tomorrow. It's going to be a rough football season in New York.
Ooh.
All right. I don't know. What we set the over for both teams combined wins? 12.5? And I might take the under.
Yeah, 11. Yeah. The Jets are 5.5. I think the Giants are 5.5 too. So if you just add them, 11. I don't know if they get to 11. I think I would go over on 1, but not. I don't think both are getting
Giants schedule. Like I said, we are talking about tomorrow. The Giants schedule is brutal. I mean, just brutal.
New England over 7.5 will close out the AFC East. Minus 150 to the over. I don't know what I'm missing with this Patriot team. They play 3 straight road games, which is never easy. At Buffalo, at New Orleans, at Tennessee. I think they would go home for each one of those. I don't think, maybe New Orleans and Tennessee. I kind of doubt it. They only have 4. There's one lower than the Jets. They only have 4 games against playoff teams, so they have a real great last place schedule. Only 4 games outside of the 1:00 window. I mean, no one wants to watch the Patriots, but their over/under, George, is 7.5. They were 4-13. They're going to double their win total. Did Drake May show that much? Vrabel coming over is going to make that big a difference? I don't see it. I don't know what I'm missing on this one. They're giving you plus money on the under. I don't think that team's going 8-9.
I kind of don't think so either, and I'm not as high on May as some others. I think he's made incremental improvements, but I don't know if I see wow coming. that kind of thing. Now that you drafted Henderson, right? So you should have a really good running game with him and Stevenson. Is Stephon Diggs going to be Diggs? That's a huge. If he is, I don't think so either. I think he's better than what they had, but nothing great. Maybe a wide receiver 2 at this point. So you still don't have a wide receiver 1. All right, Hunter Henry's your tight end. Your defense is really good, and I do think Vrabel makes a difference here. The schedule is cake. I mean, my God, it's cake. If you can't get to it, I mean, you play in Vegas, okay. It's a team you're about even with. Miami, okay. I like Miami better, but Pittsburgh, Carolina, New Orleans, Tennessee, Cleveland, Atlanta, Tampa Bay's a little rough. Jets, Cincinnati, okay, but you beat Cincinnati last year. Giants are on the schedule. I mean, there's a lot of games there, Scotty, where they're going to be a slight favorite. A slight favorite. You're going to lose to Baltimore. You're probably going to lose to Buffalo. I would think you should lose twice, but maybe you could squeak it out because it's a division game. You know each other. They could get there. I could see why they're at 7.5. I think if they had a tougher schedule, it would be more like 6.5, 5.5. But the schedule is really made out for them. Even those 3 road games in a row. All right, Buffalo, you toast. Tennessee and Cleveland, you might win both those games. You definitely should win one of them.
Yeah, New Orleans, Tennessee, New Orleans. But yeah, that's still, though, 8 wins is a lot of wins. That's a big, like I said, doubling your win total from 4 to 8. I got to see that to believe it. I don't think so. We'll take a peek at the AFC North. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. When we come back, football full circle. Scott and George in for Ben and Joe Lisi on this Wednesday.
Luck is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Get the winning edge. This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
Sports Grid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channel dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on Sports Grid Radio and Sirius XM Channel 159. Sports Grid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Morency on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find Sports Grid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
It's stark but true.
You can either listen to Sports Grid for strategies, odds, and more, or you can pay your bills by digging in your couch cushions for change.
Just be sure to wear gloves.
Get the winning edge. This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Hi, and welcome back, Football Full Circle here on the grid. Scott and George closing up shop, taking a look at some of these team over-unders now that we got their schedules fully out. So analyze some of the schedules and some of their over-unders. So took a peek at the AFC East, and we can follow up on this. George and I working tomorrow and Friday here on the grid. So Baltimore, over-under is 11.5, George. And when I first saw the over-under, I'm thinking, all right, let's go over. At 12-5, they were 12-5 last year. But then you look, this is where you can appreciate the schedule. They got 3 straight road games in October at Miami, at Minnesota, at Cleveland. Not difficult, but still, I don't think you'll be going to one site to another. Like if you're flying down to Miami, you're going to come back home to Baltimore before you go to Minnesota, I would think. Same thing when you fly to Minnesota, you'd probably fly back home to Baltimore because the trip to Cleveland's not that far. So, like, it's 3 legitimate road trips. They got 9 games against playoff teams from last year, which is a ton. And they start the season at Buffalo, Cleveland at home, Detroit, at Kansas City, and Houston. Now, outside of that Cleveland game, that's a tough stretch. That you can only afford 5 losses. You might get 3 of them the first 5 weeks of the regular season. So I'm not ready to go under, but I'm quite hesitant on going over 11.5 Baltimore.
No, you said it, man. That schedule is, things. If you're not at full strength here, at Buffalo, Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City, Houston, where we got the Chargers or the Rams, I forget which logo that is, Chicago. I mean, wow. It's not an easy schedule. Listen, Baltimore's a very good team. They're going to beat more teams than lose, no matter how good the team is here. But I can see them having some problems here. Minnesota, Cleveland, those should be wins here. Jets should be a win. Maybe it's Joe Burrow's complaining, and he's right, by the way, that Cincinnati has to keep on traveling to Baltimore to play Thursday night games. And the NFL actually admitted, okay, you may have a point here. So I guess next year they'll fix that. The ending, even Green Bay, I think they get there. Once again, I would not bet this because I think it's really close. I think they do get to 12. I think that's what they're going to finish with. That's something around 12-5. So I'll say they go over here, but I'm not confident enough to bet it.
Yeah. That little gauntlet there, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati again. That's going to be the toughie as well later on in the season. So they're on prime time all over the place. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4 in an actual evening, and then a few more 4:00 games. So we're going to be seeing a lot, as you would suspect, in the Baltimore Ravens. Cincinnati 10.5, over +135, under -160. Keep in mind they went 9-8 last year. Road games, 3 of the first 4 to open up the season. We talked about, their slow start, 1-11. 9 games against playoff teams from last year, which is obviously a ton. They have a skid of at Baltimore, at Buffalo, Baltimore again in late November. Yikes. And they're in prime time 7 times, 4:00 or, your Sunday night, Thursday night, Monday night situation. So we're going to be seeing a lot of Baltimore, and we're going to see a lot of Cincinnati. Not ready to pull the trigger on the over, but I do like Cincinnati. So 11-6. Their defense is not great, I must say.
Sucks.
I got to analyze that one.
Hendrickson?
Yeah.
There's going to be games they lose 38-35 to a team like, wow, how did Jacksonville score 38 against them? Because they have no defense here. I mean, that's I can't take the over. I can't. And I love the schedule, by the way. They should be able to get there. I understand why it's set where it is here. I mean, Cleveland, Jacksonville, Minnesota, that really should be 3-0 for a good team, right? I mean, Cleveland, we know is not good. Jacksonville, maybe they'll be better. Minnesota with McCarthy, who knows? Then you play Denver. Okay, it's in Denver. That could be rough. Yeah, Denver, Detroit, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, a division game. All right, that's rough. All right, no doubt that's going to be a problem. Jets, Chicago at home, Pittsburgh, New England. I mean, I like this Baltimore, Buffalo. Baltimore I do not like. They finish with Miami. I'm going to say no. I don't think they get there, Scott. Not with that defense. I can't trust that.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that. I am. Cleveland's 5.5, +125. This is another team that had to double their win total from last year to have the over hit. 3-14 last season. Brutal start to the schedule. Cincinnati at Baltimore, Green Bay at Detroit. They're going to be 0-4. They got 8 games against playoff teams, plus 2 against Cincinnati and San Francisco. So that's 11 games against playoff caliber teams. I don't think they're getting 6 wins. I would go under.
I'd go in. Listen, the quarterback situation's a mess, although you and I both think that Sanders will end up starting the most games for them, but they're probably going to start with Joe Flacco, and he's done. No, they're an under for me. I don't think they get there. This is probably the worst team in the AFC North.
Yeah. We'll finish up tomorrow with Pittsburgh. They got a pretty easy schedule, easy start to their schedule anyway, with a bunch of easy games. But who knows who's this quarterback for the Steelers? Maybe we'll find out by tomorrow. George and I will be back tomorrow right here. Football Full Circle on the Grid. Have a great day Wednesday, folks.
You found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.